Hey everybody, it's Texas Trucker here in Mopar Monday, just about 9 p.m. Dang it. And right on cue, it's a text message. Just always go this way. It's definitely Monday. And I tell you what, a lot of people have shticks at the beginning, you know, they solicit things or like the video. It's like, how can you like it? You don't know what it is, type of a thing. Pander for subscribers. I should start doing that because I really need to hit to 10K so we can throw down some snap-on videos that are kind of backlogging everything else, right? But I'm now considering, based on this day, bashing Geico at the start, the middle, the end. Maybe make a little ad of my own in the middle, just to bash Geico. And I won't go into it now, just past that, but I will tell you, I will never use that godforsaken company for anything. And if you're with them, I hope you switch. If you work for them, I hope you quit. It's that bad. These are some money-hungry pieces of work here. I guess I would have what would be considered a PG channel. I assure you, we could escalate it a few bars right now. But, sticking to the task at hand here, we've got a polar vortex coming. And I'm trying to get some stuff recorded so I have stuff to edit, so you have stuff to watch. These are videos I wish I could have cranked out a long time ago. This poor little thing has been sitting here. I got it when it was like brand new. The good news in this case, it's still really new, and you might not be aware it's there. Does it look familiar? Timestamps and links, by the way. I do that for your convenience if you want to skip anything. But do let me know. Do you want the Geico rant every video? Just bash them, you know, lightly. You know, just tell basically what we did here. Let me know. But this should look familiar to you because it is the beautiful Craftsman Jigsaw. I've had this thing since I was probably like, I don't know, maybe could be 12-ish. More than likely probably like 14 to 16. I don't know, somewhere in there. But this thing is awesome. There is nothing wrong with it. I love it. Only shortcoming, which at the time wasn't really, you know, an issue, it's corded. I'm fine with the cord, but it would be nice to not have it. Essentially, I still use this thing. I'm not a carpenter. I don't claim to be. I fix fences. I floor attics. I've built furniture for people. Minor things like that, but that's not like a hobby or a passion of mine. Like I'm into cars, right? Going fast, sliding around, restoring things, making them better than factory, restoring them to factory. Not carpentry, all right? So this has been fine. This has been awesome. This is glory days of Sears. Something I noticed as I grabbed these blades a second ago. I don't know if I highlighted this last time. Kind of irrelevant for most of the video, but cool nonetheless. Contents made in Switzerland. Yeah. Like, back in the day, man, I mean, like, even if you were getting kind of the cheaper stuff, right? This is the era I speak of, you know, like, everyone that, like, did work at the house. You know, as a little kid, they always had skill. Like, that was the brand of choice. Plumber, electric, well, it was all skill at the time. I don't know how, don't know why. All the old dudes, the, you know, kids I was friends with, dads, everyone had a Delta saw. And, like, Porter cable was kind of like big in hand tools at the time. But for me and a lot of people, like, Sears was the jam. It was the Harbor Freight of the day, right? Quality stuff, reasonable prices, good stuff. I've got all of it. My 14.4 Craftsman stuff did not last long. But this thing, this was great. Did they have battery-powered 14.4? I don't know. But the problem with this one, I actually have to take it to work from time to time. And the cord becomes a problem. And it's primarily because I'm cutting like huge sheets of plywood. Essentially, I don't know how this happens. Every once in a blue moon, you know, I like go rack some stuff, some castings or something. And I come back and I'm walking by, you know, like 2 weeks later, and I'm like, hey, why is that crate crooked? And despite having metal bracing and everything, this was like old school pallet racks. So it doesn't have like the fancy wire racks that distribute weight perfectly. But every once in a while, like the MDF, this was stuff we bought used, sort of like pre-cut hodgepodge together, it'll just like collapse. and you know, it breaks, and you're like, oh geez, gotta try to fish that pallet off somehow. And what I do is I upgrade it to like some really nice plywood. And when you're having to cut plywood, if you can picture pallet rack, it's a pretty good chunk I have delivered, right? So I have to come in and saw, and then I need an extension cord. That's really the only downfall. If I'm like doing the fence stuff here at the house or somebody else's place, if I've got an outlet, I just zip off the ends, right? It's usually 92, so I'm cutting a few inches off the tail end. This is fine, no issues. Battery would be great, but that's my extent with it, right? And there's times at work where it would be cool, and then I have, like every once in a while, somebody will talk me into trying to do like speaker boxes and stuff again, and I sort of need to do more intricate shapes, or sometimes I'm like, well, you know, it'd kind of be neat to do this. That's where it would kind of be nice to freeform, and it would be a little easier without a cord. But no issues with this. I love it. I tried to keep this at home by purchasing a Bauer jigsaw, right? They all kind of look the same. Am I a Harbor Freight super fan? Not really. Do I like them? Yeah. It's a pretty cool store. There's not many places you can get a jack stands and a cherry picker, right? And if you include like O'Reilly's or AutoZone, you can kind of do that sometimes if you jump between stores, but you're going to pay a whole lot more. But I brought in a ton of Harbor Freight stuff. I have Harbor Freight stuff that dates back almost as old as this thing. There's an orange Central Machinery bench grinder sitting over there. It's never died. I've got Baldors from the 60s at work, but like that thing, heavy use at home, it's still there, has not failed. It's cheap, and it's still going. All right. Beside it is my Craftsman drill press from this era. But bottom line, yeah, there is some junk at Harbor Freight, but there's a lot of good stuff, some really good stuff, and a lot of stuff that's just okay. And compared to other things that are okay, it's great because of the price. That said, that Bauer jigsaw is a glorified piece. I fully endorse never touching that thing. Don't buy it on sale. Don't buy it off the clearance table. Don't steal it. If you see that in the back of someone's truck and you're tempted to pick it up, no, run. Shame on you. Don't even think about it. It's just a piece. I feel the same way I feel about that saw as Geico. They're junk, right? So, if I step over here, I did this. Why this took Harbor Freight so long, I will never understand. And I say this as somebody heavily invested in the Hercules line. You know, I never really realized it until I was thinking about it. But usually when you see people with Hercules stuff, it's because Harbor Freight sent them like the whole catalog, you know, and they didn't have to pay for it. It's like, here, make a video or something. I've paid for all mine, right? And I've only bought what I've needed or, you know, thought would be an upgrade type of a thing, or in this case, would be really nice to have cordless. That's where this falls in. They released, painstakingly for some reason, Hercules branded jigsaw blades, I should say, long ago. And it's like, there's no Hercules jigsaw. You'd think a corded one would come up or something. No dice. And this got teased, and man, was it a long wait. I do hope it is worthwhile. I don't think this is going to have a case. I really wish it would. I guess in part because that Craftsman is all I know. I've gotten kind of used to it. But this little gem was brand new. And around the time my store got it in, there was like a $10 off Hercules, which is super rare. A lot of times the big coupons can't apply to Hercules or something like that. So to get $10 off, especially something brand new in this case, I was like, this is a sign from above. And current MSRP, $79.99. Sometimes Harbor Freight waits like a month or so, 5-6 weeks, and adjusts the price, usually down. But with the $10 off, I got it for $69. That was a no-brainer. Unfortunately, they did not have any blades. However, I have this. That was the blades, not the greatest probably in the world, that we picked up when we bought the Bauer. I was like, no, I'll never get those back in the package to return them. I don't want to do that to the employees. I'll just sit on them. And sat on them I did. Those are T-shanked. This needs T-shank blades. The Craftsman, one of the reasons I pulled those blades out for you, it's U-shanked. As far as I can tell, it's getting harder to find the U-shanked. I'm sure some of you like you know, super carpentry people are like, what are you talking about? You know, like, you go to this specialty place and they've got the best in the world. I don't know that. Feel free to share, you know, like if you have an old saw like that, or it's your preference, maybe you got like some Bosch from the late 80s that uses a U-shank, and you're like, hey, there's this dude in California or Delaware. Tell people. Everyone else, you'll just have to search. But T-shanked, I will eventually, when they're in stock and I remember it, pick up the Jigsaw blades from Hercules. But it looks like a nice piece. There's not a ton of reviews on this thing, again, because it is brand new. But so far, very good, minus the blade guide. And I think the blade guide might be a misconception. It's not necessarily as much as a blade guide as it is like anti-splintering. So we shall see. Again, if I see it, I would probably assume it was a blade guide too, because again, not a carpenter. That said, up to 3,000 strokes per minute, there is an on-off cut line blower. Well, that's interesting. I haven't had that before. LED light, believe it or not, that Craftsman has an LED light, or at least a work light. I think it's LED. Maybe it's not. It's got a light, and it has a laser, which I actually really like. I'll trace out my cut line, and then seeing that red way up in front of me, like, it helps me. I don't know, maybe some of you are appalled by that. But again, for somebody that usually spins metal around at fast RPMs with carbide and stuff, the laser's sort of nice. So, brushless 20 volt. Hercules number is HCB73B. Again, you're probably going to need like the 5 whatever number at the end of the HTML deal that you'd see on receipts if you're going to search for it that way. I will have it linked, and you don't have to worry about any of that. That said, this sucker, believe it or not, has a 5-year warranty. If you're somebody that uses a jigsaw all the time, here you go. Again, $69. If you're in the Hercules line, it's kind of a no-brainer in my opinion. Coming around here to the side, there's nothing to see. 37464, item 70287. So your item number, if you search that way, 70287. Backside, that's where the action is at. And, this will walk us through it. What we've got: brushless motor for faster cutting and the power to cut hard materials, including hardwoods and metals. How often do people cut metal with a jigsaw? I don't know. Snips, shears, that's usually the route I go. I guess well, I take that back. I was thinking of sheet metal because I had my brain on plywood. I suppose in a pinch like this would be fine. Like if you out in the field and you've got like some square tube and a vise or something, just have at it, right? Why not? 4-position orbital cutting provides versatility for a variety of cutting applications. Tool-free shoe bevel with positive stop, allowing for quick and accurate shoe adjustment with detents, I should say, at 0 and 45. Of course, what do we do with 245s? We make a 90. Yeah, me, that's usually straight lines and flat planes, so not that big of a deal. Variable speed trigger, I love that. That is a big selling point to me. Up to 3,000 strokes per minute, provides precise control for clean cuts with less chipping. Right here, there's an on-off cut line. Excellent. I don't think that was mentioned on the front. That's sort of the LED. I'm sorry, the red laser I was referencing earlier. No, they're talking about the cut line blower. I don't know about that. I think I'd rather have the laser. We'll see. Keeps the work surface clear of debris and allows the user to turn off blower when using dust extraction. LED light illuminates cut line and provides optimal visibility. So when they're saying cut line, I'm assuming they're meaning like my pencil mark. Right? Again, that laser was super nice on them. My drill press has the same red laser. Maybe it was a 90s thing, you know, having a red laser on your tools. I don't know. Right here we've got tool-free blade change, allows for fast and efficient, leveraging the Hercules 5 amp-hour battery, which we scored some sweet deals on not long ago. Delivers all-day productivity. I don't know about that one. If you're using this religiously for like what I did, I mean, I could replace multiple shelves and this isn't going to die. But if you're literally using it all day, probably want to have a charger and a spare battery. Speaking of which, 20-volt brushless 0 and 45. Max strokes per minute is going to be 3,000. T-Shank Blades, that's where you find that right down here. Again, so if you're coming from something with T-Shank blades and you've got a whole ton of them, factor that in before you purchase. Variable beach trigger, LED, they claim it's 5.72 pounds, which is, not gonna lie, kind of hefty, but oftentimes with a tool like this, even though you think like, oh, well, I'm gonna be wielding it around all day, think about it, you know, you're usually on material with the, you know, rest on it, so shouldn't be too bad. But right now, I've not seen anything on this past like text reviews people have done. So if there is a case, no one's bothered. I don't think there's any pictures of it. So I truly do not know. We will find out together as we dive in the box. I'm assuming there's not. It doesn't look like there will be. It's kind of a buzzkill, I'm not going to lie. Alright, so there's that. We've got the tool here. If I can get it out. That is kind of heavy, I'm not going to lie. We got an instruction manual and some packing. So, set that to the side. Take this and throw it over there. Assuming this will deck out. Alright. And here, interesting that was totally sealed and the tool itself, but whatever. So, here she blows, quite literally. Nice looking piece. Again, I kind of dig the color scheme. I could see some people not liking it. Me personally, it works. No complaints on my end. What do we have going on? We've got our speed. We've got the 0 and 45 here. We've got the trigger. Is there a trigger lock? There is. I was like, why is the trigger not moving? Concealed here is a lock. That means the other side has an unlock. If I press it, I now have access to the variable speed trigger. Right up front, doesn't look too crazy. Again, this is probably what people were concerned with. And what this is designed to do, again, picture your blade in here. If you've got like something crazy, like low, coarse, or really long teeth, it's probably going to chew into that. But I think what that's designed to do is when you're cutting primarily through wood, I guess that would kind of reduce your chance of splintering. Again, sometimes, you know, like I don't know what feed rates are supposed to be when the stuff I cut through, and a lot of the times it's pallets, crates, stuff like that. That is the other big reason for wanting a saw at work, just so I can go out and like cut stuff down. Sometimes crates are great and I have use for them. A lot of the times I don't. And if I could just chop, you know, the tops off, I've got kind of a functional pallet, and that's more of a win to me. So this, I guess, will come in handy if I was ever trying to make something presentable, particularly like cutting, you know, plywood for the shelf units and stuff. So that said, let's go ahead. I didn't I? Set the battery down. Here she is, fully charged. I'll go ahead and show you. Boom, this is one of the brand new ones. And the battery is going to install right back here. Again, this is the 5 amp hour. Doesn't really make a noticeable difference since this is already so heavy. Well, let's go ahead and see what we've got. Oh, instance. Okay, this is good. I'm going to set this down flat just to simulate like if we were on a long sheet of wood. That is way more powerful than I would think it was. Like, I'm coming from the angle grinder a couple weekends ago, right? That seemed underpowered to me. You know, I realize it's a battery tool and I'm used to corded and everything, but it seems underpowered. This does not. Again, I'm no carpenter. You've seen what I've worked with. I was bougie enough to despise the Bauer one, but the Craftsman's been great. I have no complaints. This, though, it really does actually seem nice. I am impressed initially here. So, LED does seem to stay on just a little while. There is no cut wheel, though. So, right here in the back, I'm guessing what we would have, this lever here, that's probably going to be the extraction or your vacuum mode, right? And then this, I guess, would be the blower. Or maybe that just turns it off. Let me get my hand here. Okay. May have to consult the owner's manual on that one, believe it or not, because Lord, I don't know what's happening. But let's go ahead and grab some stuff here. So, I'll just do general purpose. That looks just fine, right? So I got this little blade here. Note, T. That little indicator there that looks sort of like a earplug, that's a T. The Craftsman blades sort of have a little notch here that looks like the letter U, hence the U-shaped blade. So, they claim it is a toolless blade change, don't they? And I'm not seeing how that's going to happen. So, I will check the owner's manual on some stuff so we can seem somewhat coherent, and we'll be back. And we're back. So after playing with this thing, I have a couple of concerns. First and foremost, the good news for me is I will 90% of the time, if not higher than that, be cutting straight. Alright? No bevels, no angles, just I need to chop something off, I need to shorten something, cut it to length. Boring. Okay, that's fine by me. This was a nightmare. This is like a plastic lever, and I felt like I was going to break it, so I debated just telling you, like, well, somehow this adjusts, but I don't want to ruin this thing since I'll be cutting it straight. I didn't want to do you dirty, so I just played with it until I got it. It is a very, very strong switch there, and at that point in time, you simply pull back or forward, and you can kind of adjust. Hopefully you can kind of see what's going on here. So if we did, or if I needed to cut at an angle, I can make it happen. Now, right here, this is the paddle. So the best way I can tell you to do this before you snap it off, this switch right here, your orbital one, right? So this is straight boring mode like I'll be in. Everybody that does crazy fancy stuff will be over here, but this lever is going to be on the side where this is locked. So you, to release the shoe and adjust your angle, need to push away. Alright, so case in point, yeah, it's getting a little easier, but it was super tight, and especially again when you don't know which direction to go. So if you put this switch upright, push that lever down to release the shoe. Alright, I think we've covered that well. Again, for me, not a huge deal because I'll be boring and cutting straight, but this I'm kind of more concerned with. It's kind of weird, and it's plastic. So right here, the blade is going to insert. If you were to look at this, which I'm not going to even take the time because I know it'll be almost impossible to see with this guard and all the safety stuff, right there, where the blade would go, it's kind of like clocked, and it's in a really weird position. And if I were to slide a blade through here, I could not get it to chuck because this is clocked at an offsetting angle, okay? So the workaround for that is this right here, this plastic piece does that. If you watch, keep your eye, let's see, here, okay, on the chuck, it rotates with it. What that's doing then is that lines up with this port where we can install the blade. So if I can pick this thing up, we'll take it, we'll slide it through this anti-splintering thing, which is very tight, get it on the guide wheel, and then right here, as I turn that, if we get lucky, we'll have it go in, alright? Make a check, make sure it's not going to come out. We should be home free, ready to cut. That's not terrible, but this is plastic, and you kind of have to torque the thing, and I could see this breaking. Particularly now, if you put a blade in here and you just cut boring stuff like I primarily do, and you never change the blade till it's dull, or once in a blue moon you need to cut metal or something with it, might not be a big issue. But if you're using this all the time, I don't know that that's going to last. I could be totally wrong. Some of you that use the battery stuff, Milwaukee, DeWalt, Makita, whatever, if you've got a cordless jigsaw, or even just a modern, updated from my Craftsman Jigsaw, and it's got this in plastic, and you're like, this dude's crazy, I've had one for 12 years, it's never broke. tell people, because my initial impression, knowing what I know from my past with similar things, plastic does not make a good lever. Plastic does not make a desirable lever. It's cheap. It works fine initially, but plastic always cracks. It always disappoints. It's not a question of when or if, but a question of when, right? That's just my take. Again, maybe things have come a long way. I gotta tell you, I realize this has some like safety stuff and whatnot that the Craftsman doesn't. That thing is so easy to use. Like, I've got a little knob here in red, and I just pull back and I get the blades in and out in no time. It's always lined up with the guide wheel. It's easier to adjust the shoe. There's a laser, which, like I said, is kind of a cool deal for someone like me. But, yeah, that's what I've got for you. Again, from right here, if you're looking at your blower switch, which this is engaged and that is just off completely, the lever does not go down. It would need to come up. Now, if you're trying to lock the shoe in place, yes, but stick with what I told you. All right, come to this side where you adjust your speed straight and orbital and push down to unlock the shoe. Best way I can explain it to you. So let's check the blade. I'll do this really awkwardly. I'm not left-handed. Lock the blade for my own safety. I actually look to be running fairly true, so I think it's initial impression here, right? We will go demo something. Keep in mind it's 9 p.m. It's dark. It's freezing cold out. I'm just gonna whack something off here in the shop. But, I will tell you my initial impression. This is a heavy saw. It seems to be good quality in terms of the construct. My big concern, this little anti-splintering thing, I think people are just going to tear that up. Again, some of you might be far advanced in carpentry or just hobby woodworkers, and you won't do that, or you'll check the blade first. The average guy is probably going to tear that up. All right. Whether it's with a blade that's too long, not seated properly, clocked, it's just going to get chewed up because it's plastic. All right. Great idea. Very nice concept. The good news is if you chew it up, I think you can just kind of remove it and you're not non-functional. You just don't have that anymore. That said, this is the one that concerns me, the blade, because if you're changing all the time, whether you just wear the blades out or you switch materials or you're just that guy, like woodworking is your thing, and you would never, cut MDF with the same thing you do your exotic hardwoods or something. Again, average person, if it says wood on it, they go. Okay. You got to realize there's like different strokes for different folks, quite literally. I do worry about that. That is my biggest concern, is this plastic lever. Hopefully Harbor Freight has these stocked, because I think that's going to go. That aside, ignoring that and the difficulty of this, now if I was someone that was going to be planning to bevel a lot and cut at funky angles and do things that are more exotic than just making shelves and cutting pallets and crates down, I would be pretty concerned about this for the same reason. Since I won't be ever using that, at least not that I can anticipate at this point in time, not as big of a concern. Same thing with the anti-splintering deal. Mine might stay intact because I am like fairly particular, right? So if I switch blades and it's dragging or it's rubbing wrong, I'm going to try and diagnose it before I just go cut something. But that's the initial thoughts. That's the initial impression. The blades, again, these are probably not the best in the world. My Craftsman are probably really good because it turns out they're Swiss made. I wondered why they lasted so long. And, I will get the Hercules blades and some others. I'm not really sure about that assortment of blades in this like questionable, very, very cheaply made pouch, which is not, this does not seem like a good way to store sharp things that cut, but that's just me. Some of you are like, oh, this guy doesn't even have a plain old storage box for those. It's like, well, actually I do, but I just haven't put those in there. But right here, if you're like, man, you haven't shown me the dust extraction, that's important, well, that's what this would be. All right, so you'd hook up your shop vac, whatever size, which normal people aren't going to have anything that small or an adapter for it. Go figure. Instead of blowing the cut line, right? So average people like me, we have that set to blow. And it's just going to, I guess, take it away, shoot it forward so I can hopefully see the pencil mark. For the exotic fancy people with all the dust extraction stuff, you just slide that piece in and go to town, right? So, what I'm going to try to do is set something stupid up that's not really even a good example, but it'll be able to say that we cut wood, and that's what I want to try to do for you. So, $69 if you're in the Hercules line. I don't think this is a bad thing to pick up. Now, obviously, if you have no use for it, don't do it. But if you've got, whether it's the Ultra Torque, the Super Ultra Torque, the, unicorn powered to whatever they call them now. I've just got the base model ones, right? If you're in the 20 volt line, that's important. Like if you're in the 12 volt line with the ratchets, this is not for you. Would have been cool if they made this dual volt just for that reason, but 20 volts is probably the way to go. I'm not going to complain or argue with it. But if you have the impact, if you have anything, the angle grinder, whatever, if you're already in this line, 79, 69, somewhere in that range, maybe slap a coupon or discount on top of that when you want this thing, I think this is a pretty solid pickup. Again, you got a 5-year warranty, so more than likely if this thing goes, you're going to walk in the store and they're going to hand you a new saw. I would imagine that's how it's going to go down. But again, I would suggest they stock these parts to keep themselves from having to do that, and they upgrade them. Where when you walk in with this broken in 3 months, they're like, oh, hey, we have a cast, or here's an aluminum piece, or maybe they cut it out of billet and powder coat it to match. I don't know. That'd be cool, but over the top. So, I'm 70% on board, right? The concerns I have that don't impact me, I can't just ignore them, but I'm very concerned about that. Case in point, that Craftsman has done everything. I don't have another, it's not like wrenches and screwdrivers and ratchets where I can play around infinitely. That's it. I don't have another jigsaw. I tried to get one and it sucked. Okay, that's done everything. And it's still working, it's still kicking. Many of you probably saw them in the stores, have them, had them, upgraded from them, whatever. I'm still rocking that thing. And it's been great. It's really, really good. The more I see new stuff, the more I'm impressed by that thing. However, the battery is going to allow me to go out on the driveway without, a 60-foot extension cord to cut stuff and not have sawdust all in the shop. Because again, I'm not a carpenter. Similarly, I can string, like when I have to do major fence repair, I have sawhorses set up and I do run a long cord because it's easier to just cut it on site, right? Within a couple feet of the fence instead of walking and hiking all the time. This allows me to not do the cord, and that's awesome. So, similarly at work, this is great. I will knock them for not having a case. That's a little, I wish it did. The same thing with that grinder. I grew up, I'm byproduct, grew up in the 90s, all the power tools had cases, so this is something that makes sense to have a case. For the average guy, you're probably not going to use this super often, so instead of getting it dusty and having crud go in the motor, keep it in case, right? They put everything else in blow mold cases. Why not this? You got your blade storage in there, would be nice. The manual tucks in, maybe even a spot for a battery. That's the way I would have done it, but again, they're probably trying to keep the price down low. Does DeWalt and Milwaukee and Makita and all the others come with them, Festool? I honestly don't know. Again, if some of you are like, this is your thing, feel free to shine in the comments. And end goal, if you haven't figured it out, is just to help people. If Harbor Freight sells 6,000 of these because of this video, I don't see a dime. There's no incentive for me past just sharing this with you. And again, if you cannot tell, I am not Mr. Saw Connoisseur. So again, if you're like, man, I can tell you that's a great saw for the money, but this would be better if you want to spend a little more, tell people, right? I can't speak on that. If there's a DeWalt battery-powered saw for $89 that just obliterates this thing and it has a wider selection of blades and the battery, whatever, tell people, right? For me, I hope this thing's good. I love the Craftsman. This is cordless. I can take this to and from work because I also have the Hercules platform at work. It's kind of a win on that front. So, all that aside, let's go cut some friggin' wood. Hey, long time no see. I cannot tell you how awkward this is. I'm literally trying to use my left hand to do that. We were talking about the 90s earlier. These might have been procured like Y2K-ish, but man, those Irwin quick clamps, or quick grip I guess is what it's technically called, those have been fantastic too. We're pushing like 25 plus years with those suckers, right? Luckily, what I have here, whether you will believe the story or not, was once a 2x4x8, and then it was cut down to 92, and then this happened. And this wasn't me, this was the wind. And when you hear me talk about fence repair, you're probably like, oh, what does this idiot do? Fence repair, that's what I do. This was a deal. I got home really late, had to frantically try to get the fence up. Typically, I'll stain, I'm weird and OCD, and I'll stain like the backside and make like a picture perfect repair type of a thing. Didn't have time to. I had this thing set up. I run carriage bolts. You got to realize, like, I'm in the windy part of the country, okay? And, long story short, the next day we went from like 65 mile an hour gust to 80 or something crazy, and it splintered a 2x4. So yeah, I've just kind of thrown this in here. This didn't even have time to like weather. You know what I mean? And you're thinking like, oh, well, you must have had rain and hail. That looks like brand new wood. No, it was just wind. We usually get that. It's oftentimes worse in like March, April, you know, than it is with like the actual big storms. So go figure. I went ahead, I switched to a longer blade because otherwise we would have had to cut here and flip it and cut again. This is going to make a huge mess. I cannot tell you how awkward it is. I do not have a ton of space left in this shop, but we're going to get rid of this. I've needed to do it for a long time, and we're going to demo something. Why not make it productive, right? So I'm not a carpenter. I'm not a sawmaster. I'm just a guy that buys cheap stuff at Harbor Freight to get stuff done. So let's see what we got. All right. I will tell you right now, I'm going to flip this saw over. I'm going to first lock the blade so I don't do anything I'll regret. Okay, that was set to blower. All right, blower is back in this case. I guess off is this way, dust extraction. It, to its credit, if you can't tell, let me just get you up here. Again, trying to see that? Straight down below. It shot stuff all the way forward. I've got like a multimeter. This is a little Harbor Freight welding table. And it shot dust probably 3 holes from the edge. Alright, so I've turned it off this time, and we're going to go to town. I will tell you right now, as the Craftsman saw guy from the 90s, I missed the laser. Granted, I wasn't trying to cut straight, I just wanted that monstrosity off the end. But, let's see what we've got here, shall we? And I'm also standing, there's a tripod here, and I'm over here, and my arms are reaching around the tripod and coming around it. So we're not necessarily going for a straight line, just a demo, but I do want to give it a second cut here with the blower off, right? So we'll see, pay attention to the area in front of the blade and see if you notice a difference, and that will be the difference. So here we go. Blade lock, safety, tell you what. And there you have it. Does it cut? It does. Does the blade go in? Yes, it does. Is it a lot better than that Bauer monstrosity? Sure is. And, that's a win. It now smells like burning wood in here. Some of you love the smell, some of you don't care for it. I've got a lot of vacuuming to do now before I go in. So yeah, that's all I've got. Again, that's literally the type of stuff I'll be doing with this. Cutting 2x4s to length. Simple like cabinet frame shelf type jobs around the house type of deal. Garage shelving, if you want to call it that. That's probably what I'll take to work. Again, for the days, if I ever get the chances to tear down crates. So annoying. I'll probably take that one with me. I'm not sure that we couldn't get some better blades for this and have a better cut. I also kind of forgot that was a variable speed trigger, so you kind of saw us lumping around, and I was like, man, this doesn't seem as powerful. And then I squeezed a little harder. So that's on me. So yeah, It's a pretty heavy saw. I think it's going to be a nice addition. Again, if you're already in that platform, I think it's a win and a no-brainer if you need something like that. My biggest concern is, again, the blade lock. If you have this, you haven't had it long. I mean, this thing is a couple of weeks old at this point. Again, I've had it since it was brand new, but I haven't had time to get out here. What do you think of it? How does it compare? Again, a lot of you will have way more experience with jigsaws, saws in general than me. This is just me showcasing it. I think it's going to be okay. I'll keep you posted should anything break. With that said, I got to get a shop vac out now. Don't have one from Hercules, so it's corded. But LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all three at LoneStarMopars.com. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts. If you have not subscribed, I encourage you to do so. If you do that, ring the bell, jump your charger across the creek. YouTube just might notify you. We got new videos every Wednesday and Saturday, 9 a.m. Texas time. With that said, I'll try to get this cranked out so you can see it Wednesday. It will be very, very cold here, like negative 20-something wind chills. So, just know I was out here trying to get something cranked out for you. And again, I really do want to hit 10K just so I can release the snap-on videos and stop the frickin' backlog. Thing timed me out before I said the most important stuff, which is I hope I see you back here next week, and Geico sucks.